Hey peeps, I thought I would continue along in our discussion of specific tarot cards with the 10 of Knives here from Tarot of Vampyres, also known as the 10 of Swords in Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot symbolism. There is such a power and a lot of fear around this card when we draw it. It's one of those cards when you're first learning the structure of tarot that I think really sticks out as one that you kind of inhale uncomfortably and really don't necessarily want to see show up in your reading. This is because it's a very potent card with a very clear message. It's a little bit difficult to mistake the imagery within the 10 of Knives for anything but an ending, a final ending, a game over situation. And that is indeed what the 10 of Knives represents. I have found this beautiful shift in my experience personally with the 10 of Knives though. And so I wanted to speak a little bit to this today and share a little bit from Ian Daniels' fantastic guidebook to the Tarot of Vampyres, Phantasmagoria. There's a beautiful excerpt here that's really given me a fresh perspective on this card and has caused me to feel even, dare I say it, a little bit excited when this card shows up now in daily draws or in personal card work. So of course, traditional meaning, finality, final blow, ending, a need to acknowledge that something has reached its natural finish, death, conclusion, negative change, an experience of change that's particularly harrowing, perhaps not instigated by us. And yet one thing that we are aware of within the 10 of Knives, the 10 of Swords, is that while there has been a death to a situation, we ourselves are not dead. So there is a little bit of a preparation for the breath of fresh air that in Phantasmagoria is the 2 of Skulls, the 2 of Pentacles, because the Ace of Skulls, the Ace of Pentacles is contained within the 10 of Knives here. So we know that we're approaching this beautiful new beginning or clarity around something. But we're still in the middle of the death now. And it's very important with the 10 of Knives to acknowledge that there's something that has shifted and ended. And we are experiencing a realization around this and should act in alignment with that realization instead of resisting the ending. I think I find in my client work with this card that a great deal of the time when the 10 of Knives shows up, we really might not want something to be over or a chapter to be over or a way of being with a person, a place, a situation to have ended that particular incarnation, and yet it is time to acknowledge that. So there is an awareness of an ending that's very important to acknowledge within the 10 of Knives. So I just want to show you that imagery once again. But if you look at page 254, the power within this card, I just want to read this for you. So we're on page 254 here. In either case, it is a final letting go of the past or of habits and behavior, which leads to renewal of the whole structure. The card is about a final conclusion and the end of a cycle. Since there is nothing more to lose, we may just as well risk a new beginning. And I found such a power in sitting with that energy here. And then on page 255, Ian says, this is the last incentive needed to perform a daring act of transformation. Like all the 10s, this card has reached the lowest position possible and cannot descend any further. Instead, it completely changes suits and transforms into the next small card in the sequence, as I just referenced, the 2 of Skulls. So for me, there was an awareness within this of the clarity that the 10 of Knives actually brings us. In fact, Ian references again on page 254, this can result in great change and eventual peace. So there's an awareness that even though something has ended, and we quite probably do not want it to have ended, we actually are experiencing a sense of peace and a cutting away of something that is no longer working, viable, or helpful on our path, right? And within that, we are able to leave something behind us and step into the new. But the beautiful, really, really beautiful piece that I pulled from this card, especially today, first of all, Ian references her as a succubus in this card, which for me automatically made me think of Lilith, just because I have Lilith on the brain because I'm preparing this new workshop, right? So I've been working a lot with Lilith in preparation for it. So I felt very, very much like, oh, okay, so how can I work with Lilith in regards to the Ten of Knives? You know, I have this feeling that Lilith knows when it's time to exit stage right. And so then I was sitting with, on page 256, Ian says, our truth manifests in the external world from the depths of our soul born in our spirit. All the world is a stage onto which we can project a phantasmagoria of deep, dark beauty, poetry, and wondrous light from our own inner magic lantern. So kind of in a little nod to the previous video where we discussed Eight of Swords, Eight of Knives, I found this beauty in thinking of when we look at our ending as a story within our soul's incarnation, what is the beauty that we can extract from that experience? And what is the peace that we can step into as we allow something to be dead, to be ended, to be final, to be released? It's fascinating in the work that I do, especially from a medium perspective over the last decades. We have such a longing at times to hold on to the people that we love, the memories that we have with them. And those memories can't be taken, so please don't take what I'm about to say as that. But we are in a realm of contrast and in a realm where our experiences in the physical are finite. And so always there is an ending to the chapter. There is an ending to the story. There is a need to step into a new evolution, a new aspect of the journey. And in order to do that, we have to leave something behind. So when you interact with the Ten of Knives, I want to encourage you, in the same way that I am exploring it with you, to get curious about how we can honor that the ending has needed to happen and that there's a sense of peace and freedom for us to explore before we step into that new chapter, new incarnation, new step in the journey as we make the choice at the fork in the road, right? And I just want to share this final point here. On page 253, Ian says, this destruction, abandonment, or separation from a negative energy or issue is an act of liberation, freeing the mind from the tumult of suffering. The largest piece that I've pulled from this card recently for myself is the sense of joy, excitement, and adventure that comes from self-work. And when we honor that we finished a chapter or a way of interacting with people, places, experiences in our life based on past conditioning or trauma, when we turn and see that we no longer need to interact or react to something the way we typically would, could, or have fallen prey to in the past, but when we see that we are moving through the Ten of Knives and no longer needing to react to a situation or interact with a situation, a person, or a place in the way that we have in the past, based upon the self-work we've done, in my case, probably in your case, stemming in part from our work with tarot, there's this real powerful experience of, as Ian says, liberation. And so I've reached this new place of peace with the Ten of Knives from this work. Excitement to know that personally in my own journey, when this card shows up, I'm grown. There's something that I'm ready to stop responding to based upon a habitual pattern for myself. And now I can make new choices and interact with that energy in a new way. So if you are working with the Ten of Knives in your personal path at this time, if it's shown up in a daily draw, in a card spread, if you've had your cards read and it showed up and you're feeling a little bit nervous about it, I just want to assure you there's a lot of beauty to this card. It is a powerful card. It does mean what it says it means. You can't rainbow the 10 of Knives. You can't love and light, you know, unicorns everywhere, the 10 of Knives into anything other than what it is. But there can also be an easefulness, a sense of adventure and excitement, and a sense of awakening and rebirth when we work with this card, especially if we have been walking with tarot for some time on our paths. So I hope you are doing well out there in the world. I am sending you, as always, much love and many blessings. I will see you in the next video.